Shabbat Shalom Mevorach.
Shabbat Shalom.
This such a nice thing to think our times in order to welcome Shabbat together to gather in order to welcome Shabbat. This is a very special Shabbat. Two things come together. One is the idea of Nachamu. You shall find comfort, my people. This is the Haftarah that we read this week in the week immediately after Tisha B'Av, in which we think about how to find comfort. What are the things that bring comfort to our lives? What are the things that bring nechama? And also, this is the Shabbat that comes after Tu B'Av, the holiday of love in Jewish tradition, in which we are reminded that love is probably the strongest building power in our world. And so, with this sense of love, of comfort, we enter this Shabbat. I would like to invite you to prepare your Shabbos candles so we can we can acknowledge the beginning of this Shabbat together as community.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Shabbat Shalom,
everyone.
We turn our Sidurim now to page 129. Welcome Shabbat with joy. We turn our Sidurim to page 130 for Lechu Neranena LaAdonai.
Lechu neranena LaAdonai, nari aletzun ishenu lekadmo Toda bizmirot
מלאכת אל הארץ, ישמחו עם רבים, all שרו על הצדיק ולשרי לב שמחה. The righteous will find joy in connecting with your mitzvot, with the work of recognizing the beauty of this world. מזמור שיר לאדוני, שיר חדש, כי נפלאות עשה. We enter this Shabbat trying to recognize the playim, the niflaot, the wonders of our world, and the wonders in our personal lives. We enter this Shabbat trying to take the work of transforming this Friday night into a time of holiness, into a time that is separate and allow us to observe those things that make also our lives a holy experience. We're on page 134.
זמרו לאדוני בכינור בקול זמרה, בחצוצרות בקול שופר, הריעו לפני המלך אדוני.
Return our Sidurim to page 136, Psalm 29, Mizmor LeDavid.
Shalom.
If there is something that it is a common denominator, I would say, to almost all congregations around the world, is that Friday night, at some point, that we say the words of Lecha Dodi. The words of Lecha Dodi, these words of love, of a loving gathering between the people of Israel, the Kadosh Baruch Hu, our God, a loving gathering between each of us and Shabbat and our families, a loving gathering with our communities that connects us for centuries, for more than 500 years, and connects us also to this very moment and to each other. Lecha Dodi likrat kala. Beloved, come to meet the bride. Beloved, come to greet Shabbat. We're on page 138.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela, sham or v'zachor b'dibur echad, ishmianu el hameyuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shemo letiferet ve'litila, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela, לקראת שבת לכו ולכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם לזוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, אורי, שתדברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך ניגע, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, בני שבת nekabela. לא בראשי ולא תתקרבי, מה תשכחי ומה תרבי, בך יחסו עניי עמי, ונבנתה עיר על תילה, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, בני שבת nekabela. אוי ושלום, עטרת בנה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה
welcome Shabbat. Shabbat is among us. So let's take the time to welcome each other. Let's take the time to acknowledge each other's presence, and let's say Shabbat Shalom to each other. If you are in Zoom, your waving is enough, and you can write messages, of course. And if you are connecting with us through YouTube or Facebook, we invite you, we encourage you to drop us a good Shabbos, to tell us where you are connecting with us from. And also, if you want to write a private message from one to each other, it's a very nice way to create community, to build some ties, even when we are connecting, or because we are connecting virtually. We also acknowledge the presence of those that are here. Jerry, it's very nice to see you and to have you here. And Gabriel, welcome back after your very, very, very long vacation in Florida.
I'm back.
We really miss you. And
That's right.
Evan is with us, and Fernando is helping us with the streaming.
Thanks,
Fernando, you're
Fernando.
doing great. We really appreciate the work you're doing. And with all that said, we are going to turn our theorem to page 140 for Psalm 92. We grant to Shabbat one more song. It's more shir liyom HaShabbat.
טוב, טוב להודות לאדוני. טוב להודות לאדוני. ולזמר, ולזמר לשמך אדון. טוב להודות לאדוני. טוב להודות
ולהגיד בבוקר חסדך. אוי להגיד בבוקר חסדך. באמונתך בלילות, באמונתך בלילות. טוב להודות לאדוני. ולהגיד בבוקר חסדך. אוי להגיד בבוקר חסדך. באמונתך בלילות, באמונתך בלילות. טוב להודות לאדוני, ולהגיד בבוקר חסדך. אוי להגיד בבוקר חסדך. באמונתך בלילות, באמונתך בלילות. טוב להודות לאדוני. Last time, try it with us. ולהגיד בבוקר חסדך. אוי להגיד בבוקר חסדך. באמונתך בלילות, באמונתך בלילות. טוב להודות לאדוני. We're on page 144 for חצי קדיש.
יתגדל ויתקדש מרבה, בעמדי ופירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחייתך בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמך בית קודשך בריחו לעילה מן כל רחתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תמירן מהרה במרו
invite you to please rise for Barhu.
ברכו את אדוני
Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzebaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Amariv Aravim.
Amen.
So we, in this Shabbat of Tu B'Av, in this Shabbat in which we dedicate some special attention to love, and that's why we were singing the word Chesed again and again, because it means loving kindness, Chasdecha, your loving kindness to us. As we approach the Shema, we try to recognize, we try to think about what makes us feel love. So we ask people in the congregation to share with us about their experiences, and we got some interesting answers. So we will share a little bit of those experiences, and we invite you, as you listen to these experiences, these descriptions, to think about what makes you feel deeply loved.
My earliest memory of what love felt like was the way I fit perfectly into my grandma's arms when she rocked me and sang Romanian songs to me. That warmth, comfort, and sense of peace I felt became the thing I wanted to give to others. The song says, "Exhale, you're safe here. I'm not going anywhere." Memories of love are eternal. People come and go in our lives. So the people we love and love us come and go. But the memory of love is enveloping, warm, and eternal. Triggered by a smile, a glance, an object, a word, memory is always there. There comes a point in our lives when we realize our large extended ruckus family is no more, passed on, leaving a smaller generation, scattered and more silent. But the love remains. Friends we loved for years are replaced. Neighborhoods we lived in and loved have irreparably changed after we have physically moved on. Interests and circumstances change, so that how we love to spend our time materializes into unforeseen environments. New loves sustain us, but the memories of love remain. The memories of love provide strength. The memories of love are eternal.
We're on page 150.
אהבת עולם את ישראל עמך אהבת עמך אהבת תורה ומצוות חוקים ומשפטים אותנו לימדת אותנו לימדת על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד כי הם חיינו לאורך ימינו ובהם נגה יומם ולילה נגה יומם באהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל אוהב עמו ישראל
Shema
ישראל
Adonai
Eloheinu
Adonai Echad. Before we go into Be'afta, symbolically, Be'afta and the Shema, they are a centerpiece of this Torah portion, Parashat Be'et Hanan. So now, yes, please join Gabriel on page 154.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
אדוני אלוהיכם אמת, אמת אמון הכל סוד בקיים עלינו, כי הוא אדוני אלוהינו, ואין זולתו ואנחנו ישראל. Amom. When your children witness your presence, they praise your name in gratitude, and they accepted your sovereignty. Moshe, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you together, lifting their voices with joy. Who is like you, O God? We are on page 158. Mi chamocha
Bailim Adonai Mi kamocha Nedar b'kodesh Nora tehilot
We're on page 161. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
Let there be love and
Understanding among us.
Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Ashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu Shomreinu lechaim ufroz aleinu sukat shomecha ashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu ashkiveinu Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from לאדוני הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים. Blessed are you, Adonai, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over your people Israel, and over your holy city, ירושלים.
אמן.
שמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת, לדורותם ברית עולם. It is a covenant within and between generations. It is a reminder of our ability to transform our lives by being able to acknowledge the sacredness of time. And as we enter this Tfilat Amidah, as we turn our Siddurim to page 164, we try to allow this acknowledgement of Shabbos to help us bring to our minds and to our hearts holy thoughts, sacred words. We will say, we will ask to find the ability to open our mouths and to find words of praise. We try to recognize the many gifts in our lives. And as well, we try to articulate our needs. We're on page 164 for Tfilat Amidah.
Adonai, שפתי תפתח, ופי יגיד תהילתך. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise.
יהיו לרצון אמרי פי, בעליון ליבי לפניך אדוני, צורי וגואלי. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, Adonai, my rock and my redeemer. עושה שלום במרומיו, ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל יושבי תבל, באמרו אמן.
Amen.
The one who makes peace in the high heavens, makes peace for us, help us to find the tools, the ability, the awareness to create peace our own world. Let us say,
Amen.
we take a moment to acknowledge those that are dealing with illness, their bodies, their souls. We think of those dealing with addictions. I invite you to share the names of those that you are thinking about this evening of Shabbos. As together we turn our Sidurim to page 371 and pray for the recovery.
May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Yisheberach imotenu bekor habracha lavotenu, bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say,
Wish to all of them refuah shlema be'achlama meira, a complete and a fast recovery, and let us say amen. Good Shabbos, everyone. I'll admit it. I did not want to listen. 2 months ago, when a letter signed by more than 60 rabbinical students from a variety of rabbinical schools claiming that Israel holds an apartheid system was published, I decided to put it aside. At that time, I felt that I needed to focus my attention on other things. Family and friends were in shelters in Israel. Our youth here in the United States were dealing with baseless accusations in their schools. And there was a lot of confusion around the community regarding the context of what was happening. Now, 2 weeks ago, I read a newly published survey done by the Jewish Electoral Institute. And the first thing that came to my mind was the letter of the rabbinical students back in May. The survey found that 25% of American Jews believe that Israel is an apartheid state, and 22% that Israel is guilty of genocide. Now, this is a single survey, and it is too early to take its input as a hard fact. However, it is not too early for us to recognize that we are witnessing a trend that requires serious introspection on our end. After reading the survey, Dr. Tomer Persico, a research fellow at the Harman Institute, published on his social media that the Jewish community in the United States is experiencing an earthquake. I wish he was right. I wish he was right. Because that would mean that we are listening and reacting to this very concerning news. But regrettably, I think he's wrong. Because it wasn't the survey that moved us the most. Last week, instead of discussing the meaning of this trend, we mostly watch pictures of ice cream in trash cans. As if for right now, our biggest challenge was the decision of Ben & Jerry's to stop selling their products in Judea and Samaria. As I was following this topic in social media, at some point it felt to me that we prefer to focus on the ice cream boycott, which is somehow external to us and we cannot really control, rather than have a serious conversation about what's happening to us internally. In the Sidra, the Torah portion of this week, we read, Shema Israel, listen, O Israel, followed by Be'afta, you shall love. Love comes from listening. Shema, listen. Be'afta, love comes from listening. Love is born in an awareness that eradicates obliviousness and indifference. Our love for Israel and for the Jewish people should lead us to exercise and nurture listening skills. Over the course of the last 2 decades, 750,000 people have traveled to Israel through the generosity of the Birthright program. The contribution of Birthright is invaluable. However, it is a consensus among Israel educators that Israel education should start years earlier. Teenagers start to shape their worldviews before they go to college. Furthermore, we know that too many high schools and colleges across the United States give space to toxic and one-sided narrative regarding Israel. Now, it's not surprising that often the first time that our children hear about the complexities between Israelis and Palestinians is not from us. Because conversing about Israel in our communities has become a taboo. And so, we shouldn't be surprised that some of them hold on to the same argument that we believe, that I believe, is fundamentally false. Often, our education and our conversations tend to eradicate complexities as an attempt to avoid discomfort within our communal households. Let's don't discuss politics, right? When this applies to our Israel education, a common outcome of the approach, the let's don't talk about it approach, is the creation of an in-love state of mind toward the state of Israel. We are in love with the idea of the state of Israel. Now, being in love is a great feeling, but it's not enough for a lasting relationship. And very often, the next step to that status is disappointment, frustration, and breakup. So, how do we move from the in-love status into a loving relationship? Love comes from listening. Love is born in an awareness that eradicates obliviousness and indifference. We must expand our conversations and our listening within our household. And for that purpose, let's get back to Ben and Jerry's. Rabbi Shai Hell posted on his Facebook wall, quote, "For so long, I have heard so many friends accuse BDS of being unable to make a distinction between the occupied territories and the state of Israel as a whole. And now it turns out that the pot was calling the cattle back. Can it really be the case that so many of my friends think there is no legitimate way to both criticize the occupation and try to actually do something concrete to end it?" End quote. Let's divide this idea in two parts. First, the BDS is by all means an anti-Semite organization. And if their vision was fulfilled, there would be no more a Jewish state. On the other hand, from a very Zionist standpoint, you can oppose the presence of the state of Israel in Judea and Samaria. So, even though I personally disagreed with this decision of Ben and Jerry's, and I don't believe it brings any improvement to an already very difficult situation, I recognize that many Zionists who love Israel no less than I do see this decision as an act of pressure toward a better Israel. The dialogue that recognizes the nuance and the complexity of this situation, and at the same time, the diversity of our opinions, is indeed a very difficult one. Now, the same Shema, the same Be'afta, you shall love, that we read in this Torah portion, tells us that we shall share this teaching with our children. Shinantam levanecha. Avoiding the dialogue shouldn't be an option for us. Because when we shut down this conversation, when we decide that it doesn't belong in our house of study, then we enter the cycle of avoiding discomfort, which perpetuates a failing educational system. Avoiding discomfort perpetuates a failing educational system. So here are two ideas I believe can help us break the cycle. First, let's decide that we will listen. Let's decide that listening is not just to what we like to hear. It also means to engage in what is uncomfortable to us. Let's acknowledge that when we refrain from that engagement, when we refrain from that conversation, then the mitzvah of sharing this with our children, of repeating it to our children, of talking to our children, is not fulfilled by us. And instead of getting a nuanced narrative from us, they get a one-sided perspective from someone else. Second, let's urge our congregations and our federations to engage in multi-generational, nuanced Israel education. Let's assure that our organizations don't reduce their Israel activism and education to condemning the BDS, but they rather become agents that help us develop a kind of listening awareness from which true love is born. Shabbat Shalom umevorach. We will turn our shidurim to page 586 and we will sing Be'ashevota el levabecha. We can return these teachings to our hearts if we ask from where we are. And we learn that teaching in which Torah portion? In this Torah portion, Parashat Beth Hanan. We say, Vikashtem misham. You shall ask, you shall require from wherever you are. And if you require, if you ask with all your heart, with all your might, then you will find that these teachings, that the way back home is in your heart.
כי אדוני הוא האלוהים ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ
to take a moment to acknowledge mourners among our community. We invite you to share the names of those that you are remembering in the comments section on Facebook, YouTube, and Zoom. If you are during the first 7 days of mourning Shiva, please rise. If you are during the first 30 days of mourning Shloshim, please rise. If you are during the cycle of the first year of mourning, please rise.
I remember Joe Angiano.
If you are remembering a yahrzeit this week, anniversary of someone's passing by this time of the year in years past, please rise. Now you can support our fellows by standing or sitting, joining us with your voices or your hearts for Mourners Kaddish on page 598.
Yit Gadal Vit Kadash Meraba.
Amen.
Belma Divrachirute, Viamnich Machute, Vechayechon Uviomechon, Uvechaye de Chol Beit Israel. Baagala Vizman Kari Vimru.
Amen.
Yehesh Meraba Bevrach Lalam Ulamea Maya. Yitbrach Vishtabach Vit Paar Vit Romam Vit Nase. Vit Hadar Vit Ale Vit Halal Shemid Grisha Brichu. Leela Min Kol Bechata Vishirata. Tush Bechata Venechemata da Amiran Belma Vimru.
Amen.
Yehesh Lama Rabba Min Shemaya. V'chayim Aleinu Bel Kol Yisrael Vimru.
Amen.
Ose Shalom Bimromav. Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'ol Kol Yisrael Vimru.
Amen. May the memories of your beloved ones be always a blessing in your life. Yesichram Baruch. Before we go into Kiddush, Marty, it was your birthday this week. Perhaps she's hearing me. Marty Baker Jordan, can you hear me? Good. Now I see you can hear me. Show me with your fingers how old you turned this week. You're not saying? Miriam says that you're not going to share that information.
You don't have to, it's okay.
Doesn't matter. You don't need to share. But Marty had a birthday this week, so Mazal Tov. Congratulations. It's very good to see you, Marty. Tomorrow morning we will gather at 9 a.m. for Torah study, at 10 a.m. for services. And have you ever wondered why in Be'afta the word lev is written levav with two bets? No, eh? Well, I hope that you are curious until tomorrow morning and I tell you.
Is it for emphasis?
For emphasis? Kind of, yeah. Kind of emphasis.
Yeah.
You can emphasize the word by repeating a letter. Or maybe to point out to some kind of duality. Maybe because the heart, the lev, has two sections. Well, we'll see. Anyway, we'll discuss, we'll have a very interesting conversation tomorrow morning. And for those that have little children, you might want to join me tomorrow at 6 p.m. in the JCC for a creative Avdallah. I would love to see you. I will be there with my not anymore already little children. I do have one that is in that age, so Gilad and I will be there. We would love to see you. And also, if you don't have children, you want to join an activity of PJ Library, do it. We'll love to see you anyway. And on Sunday, our sisterhood and men's club have a branch organized, and they will be having a very interesting conversation about the origins of some very interesting Jewish foods. So we encourage you to join us, and if you want to do so, please reach out to Mike Bell or Evelyn Bell so they can count you in. With all that said, we will go to page 122 for Kiddush. Vayerev vayivoker, יום השישי, ויחול השמיים בארץ בכל צבעם, ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה. ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. סברי חבריי וחברותיי, שא לחיים, ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו בשבת קודשו, באהבה וברצון הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה בראשית, יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת עם כל העמים בשבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. לחיים. We make sure that nobody leaves this space, this physical and virtual space, this space that we create together without a blessing. In Shabbat, we are reminded that there's always time to pause and to acknowledge our creations and to acknowledge the creations that make our existence more complete, more whole, those that bring love to our lives. We say to our children, may God inspire you to be like the parents of Israel. יברככם אדוני וישמרכם. May God bless you and protect you. יאר אדוני פניו אליכם ויחונכם. May God's light shine upon you and may God be gracious to you. יישא אדוני פניו אליכם וישם לכם Shalom. May you feel God's presence within you always. And may God bless you with perspective. May God bless you with the ability to listen. May God bless you with love. May God bless you and all of us with wholeness, with shalom, with peace. Adonai Osle Moiten, Adonai Yevarech, et amav b'shalom. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
There's nothing you can do that can't be done. Nothing you can sing that can't be sung. Nothing you can say, but you can learn how to play the game. It's easy. Nothing you can make that can't be made. No one you can save that can't be saved. Nothing you can do, but you can learn how to be you in time. It's easy. All you need is love. All you need is love.
All you need is love, love.
Love is all you need. All you need
is love. That's the Hasidic part, right?
Love, right?
All you need is love, love. Ya la la la, ya la la la.
Love is all you
Is love.
need. Love is all you need. Love is all you need.
Shabbat shalom, everyone. Good Shabbos.
Zoomers,
We love you.
We do love you. And coming back. I didn't get to make my announcement, but this time.
We are
No,
here.
go back. Good. No, don't end.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to talk to Zoomers.
Have you stopped the live streaming?
So no. So
You can stop the live streaming.
So we're gonna stop the live streaming.
Uh-huh.
So bye-bye YouTubers and bye-bye Facebookers. But those in our Zoom room with us, you may stay on